I'm doing it.
Oh,
I
no,
hope my
actually,
computer
forget.
still has enough space after all of these.
I think after you posted it, you can probably delete all of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, I'll delete them.
Yes.
All right. Well, hello everyone. To we're gonna do like our Game Jam
Game
101
Jam.
workshop here. Um, so you guys are like free to also discuss with us. This is like a discussion workshop. You're all free to talk with us, and especially like if you've been part of like game jams, maybe you would want to pitch in on like advice to others, and we're all here to just have some fun and like discuss like things
Right.
that you should or shouldn't do during game jams.
Right. Like we'll also share our personal like tips and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Tips and tricks that we think might be helpful for like first time game jammers or like beginner game jammers too.
Yeah.
What's happening in the chat? Okay.
It's because he's not in the call and like during the call.
He's
Does
listening through telepathy.
does the
Nice.
live video work?
Should be.
Because then you could watch that, I guess.
Yes, it is.
Should I
Discuss
share
me.
my Twitch stream? Maybe. Oh, you don't need a webcam.
You just need a
Oh,
mic.
he is in the call. Oh, you are in.
Can you hear us? You can hear us, right? Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's
Then
you're
you should
it's. Sorry.
sorry, you have a mic. You should have a mic like at the bottom. You have your profile, right? And you have like a microphone icon, a headphone icon, and then a gear icon. And then like if you click, oh, you don't have the mic either. Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, you could just type if you don't have a mic.
Oh.
That's okay as well.
You can ask us questions too, or anything.
Yeah, you can type all you want.
Yeah.
It's fine.
We don't mind.
Typing's fine too. Game jams 101.
Oh.
What are some tips? What are like
Go ahead.
What are some good tips? That we can give, like really like things that are applicable for every game jam.
I guess we could kind of go through like what are the different stages of like a game jam, like from start to finish.
Yes.
So
yes, we can go through that.
basically,
That's a good idea.
and also like specifically how ours is gonna work. So basically, what's gonna happen is on the 15th, we're gonna give you guys time to like make teams. So this is like the best opportunity at the beginning of a game jam is to find people in your team that so you'll need like someone that could do art. You will need some like maybe one or two people that could program. And I would say like a good balance is maybe like two people that could do art and two people that could do programming if you're doing a team of four. Just so that there's a good balance. But of course, if you, depending on the game you're trying to make, we were talking about yesterday how, like in our discussion about game design, if for example you're making a game that's more like a puzzle and the art doesn't really matter, then you might want to have a more predominant amount of coders in your team. So maybe like one artist and like three coders. But if you want a more artistic and story-driven game, which we also like for beginners, like we're completely open and encouraging people to do games for the first time. It doesn't need to be like code. You could use different game making applications like what is it, the one with
Twine?
Twine, which so that's like
Twine.
a perfect place to start doing games where like if you're an artist or you really want to like do a story, you could completely focus on that, and you might need maybe one programmer or even none if you're capable enough, but like
Right.
try to find like teammates that will kind of represent what kind of game you're gonna be aiming for. So if you're trying to be more technical, maybe try to find more programmers on your team. If you want to be more artistic and story driven, maybe have a more artists in your team. So after that, go ahead.
Oh,
Tiffany.
sorry. I was gonna say like a little plug. If there's some artists who want to really make like using other type of game tools apart from like Unity or like more beginner type of game making tools, we'll have a workshop tomorrow too.
Yeah, we're
We'll have
gonna
a workshop
introduce.
discussing smaller introductory type of tools tomorrow. Me and Rose.
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I hope you guys join for that workshop as
Yes.
well.
Join us.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah. And after we do finish our game making, well, after everyone like finds teams, or if you want, you could work on your own as well. But basically, when you're registered all your teams, we're gonna announce our theme at 6 p.m. exactly. And at that time, it's the time to brainstorm. So you get with your teams, and since this is online, I'd recommend maybe setting up personal channels for your team, just so you could easily communicate with yourselves and in a private setting. You also don't want people to like steal your ideas or something, so that's another reason why maybe you would want a personal channel for your teammates. And you guys
Very
should.
important.
Yeah. So from our experience, let's say for example, Global Game Jam, we'd have like whiteboards where you could kind of write down ideas really quick or make some drawings of like things that interest you. And I think so this is probably the most important part of a game jam, is just to get your idea like a cohesive idea.
Right.
So you shouldn't be afraid to spend hours, like 5 hours if needed, on just designing the game, because the rest of the game jam will be dependent on your core idea.
Right.
Exactly.
But this is also a good time to set up a mutual like place, like I don't know, a mutual Google Drive, where let's say, because we're all working remotely from home, right? So you could drop the assets. Like it's a place where you can easily share files and share, like maybe set up a Google document, and that's where you can brainstorm all together and write things down there.
Yeah.
So just make sure you start to set up that like network place where you could like share files.
What was I gonna say? I had something I was gonna say, but I completely like skipped my mind.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'll remember. You guys could
Comes to mind.
You could.
Well, for brainstorm, after brainstorming, then you kind of start to narrow down, like, right? You try to find the correct like prototype idea that you would want to go for. And this is where you like. I would suggest generally we would start scheduling, like, okay, what are we do? Like, what are the most essential parts for this game? Like, if it's a game that's really, let's say it's a logic-based game, like a puzzle game, then you have to maybe focus on making those, make sure those are fun, or make sure those make sense before you, like, rather than like, I don't know, go like full steam ahead on something that's very artistic, but your game, like gameplay and mechanic does not really revolve around that. So that's where you have to like really nail down like what is the essence behind your game idea. And I would say like plan that, schedule that for the next few days. Like, okay, by and then maybe set small deadlines. Like by noon tomorrow, we hope to achieve maybe a bare bone playable like some sort of playable thing. Yeah.
I would say like well, okay, before getting into like the next point, I just wanted to mention that you guys another important thing is to talk about scope. So try not to make a game that has like I would honestly avoid, like, I'm not telling you not to do it, but if you're doing, I would suggest maybe avoiding big games like RPG games that have like, you have like puzzles and you have to go in different dungeons and rooms, and there's like a whole story behind him. You will not be able to finish that in 48 hours. Maybe you could do a prototype of it, but a full-fledged game like that, I don't recommend doing it because it's a lot of work, and getting like a good story in that little time with good mechanics, good puzzles, it's just kind of overwhelming. Yeah. So just make sure to, like, you might have good ideas that you really want to do, but just make sure to, like, be realistic that games like that have huge stories and things might not be able to be done in 48 hours. Right. And yeah.
Something I wanted to comment, coming a little bit to the programming side, is that after that process where you design the game, the team is set solid in a set design, and you already cut what you wanted to cut and stuff like that. First steps for the programming people involved would be to sit, don't jump directly into like, let's start the project and code and stuff, and like separate the work in a way based on the concepts. You should first sit with the artists as well. You can do that, but most of the programmers in this case should sit and really consider the overall system. So for instance, the game we did in the Global Game Jam, I remember that we, at least some of us, we first talked a little on how we wanted to architect the system, and that's very important because sometimes someone has an idea of doing something and the other programming has a different way of doing certain things, and those things don't merge well, and there's a lot of hard work needs to be done later on, like at later stages when you're crunching, just to fix certain problems that arise when you don't have this like pre-planning done. So it's very important to really sit with all the programmers involved and have like, let's do this and set up the scripts like scripts like this, and let's have like a certain number of states, and let's use these states for everything. So like we did for the Global Game Jam, we had all the rules in the ship that would have, and the things that would break, they had like 3 states, and we defined those states very early, and that really helped everyone. Like those are small definitions that if you don't do and everyone doesn't know early, it could be a mess. It could like snowball very fast. So really do that beforehand.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, and then the artists, on the other hand, really need to think like, what is the most important, like crucial art that needs to be done, and really make those things first, and then you roll into the other things. Even if you feel like, oh, this is small, do it first, and then you think about the rest later. Just like baby steps in this situation is very important, so you don't like plan too much into this short time, and you end up not having the time to do everything.
Yeah. So for example, like a game that has characters and like a world, like maybe obviously the characters would be like number 1 priority, and then like maybe have like the background as the second priority, but then little kind of details would be kind of like the last thing they would do during the production. And
right.
Yeah.
I think artists. Sorry, go ahead.
You can go.
Okay. I was gonna comment on the artist side. Is I find, I don't know, maybe it was the teams I was with. Often when you're brainstorming, right? Artists, you might be caught up in a certain vision. It's like, oh, like you hear an idea and you're like, oh, I can see exactly how this looks. Like it needs to have this, and it has, like, I don't know, I want floating spaghetti in space. Like this is exactly what I want. I just want spaghetti in space, and this is gonna be great. But then it's like, like you really have to remember to like how do I explain this? You really have to like bring down that like vision, and to not be too attached to one specific idea or vision that you have. It's great that you have a vision, and it's great, but it's also important to remember that maybe the gameplays, and like let's say the team is like, oh, we really want characters, and like you see the characters at all times on the screen, it's something that's more prominent than like the background spaghetti in space, then maybe that's a compromise that needs to be done, and you have to focus on the asset that's going to be there beyond like the vision you like. It's a battle of like compromising.
Well, that's a good point. Like, actually, this is like really, really important. If you're in a team, you have to learn how to compromise for everything, not just art, just like the entire game. Like what kind of game do you want? Oh, I want an RPG, and then the other person will be like, oh, but I want to, I don't know, a music-based game, and then you have to kind of like find a sweet spot. You have to talk to each other and try to find a sweet spot amongst yourself, where everyone gets excited about the game and everyone wants to participate. Because if you end up if someone magically convinces everyone else, oh, let's make that RPG game, but there's only maybe 2 people in the team that wants to do it, there's gonna have like a bad team dynamic, because only half of the team will have like the motivation to do it, and during 48 hours, the 2 teams that aren't inspired by the genre might slack off or drop, because they're not like thrilled about the idea. And so one thing, that's why like the beginning part of like right when we announce a theme and you start discussing ideas, just make sure to compromise and try to find that sweet spot that everyone gets excited about.
Right, that's very important.
Yeah, something that really can help in these cases, and that's just an idea, a proposal of my part, is that, for example, if you want to make something RPG like, or you really can, and when you're doing the game design, that's very important in general, separate like what elements of the things you imagine you like. So what is appealing to you in an RPG, and so the other teammate wants to make like a cooking game, for example, and you want to make an RPG, and like, so well, we need to compromise somehow. Then you start thinking, oh, so RPG has like levels for the character, like maybe skill sets. You need to think of these smaller elements that make sure that make an RPG, and you can like extract 1 or 2, and okay, so let's make a cooking game that has a character that levels up during the game, and then you will get faster at certain things and have some stats. That's something you can do. It turns the cooking game into more RPG experience, and that can help both merge and everyone be excited.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So just kind of like pick and choose like the parts that excite you about different genres, and yeah, that's a good way of like finding compromises. I wanted to kind of like go back to what Leandro said earlier about like trying to find the architecture of the game when starting the game. This is like the second step, I would say. So after you kind of like find that nice game idea that everyone is excited about, so that this might take maybe like 3 hours or so. It could take a long time, because like I said, is like one of the most important parts. Well, it is the most important part of a game jam. But the next step would be like the architecture, and I wanted to just mention that it's at this point you would have, if you're like working with programmers, you're gonna have to like try to find a comprehensible way for you to work together and not have your work overlapping each other. So I've only used Unity for game making, but what tends to happen often is that the player controller orders gonna have like a main controller script where basically all of the game mechanics kind of come together. Usually, from my experience, it's usually the player controller, because the player kind of controls everything and interacts with everything. And the problem with having so many mechanisms in one script is that you're gonna have a bunch of like overlapping. Like a lot of people are gonna be working on the same script, so make sure to kind of really separate the tasks together, so that everyone knows exactly what to do, and I guess a good way of if let's say one person tasks, well, two of the teammates' tasks both depend on the player's mechanisms. Maybe practice on your own scene, your own version, and then when you kind of get the idea working individually, then you talk to each other and combine them in a cohesive way so that later on it won't be as confusing later on, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What happens is that what you have to have in mind, especially in a game jam, is that things will snowball eventually. There's always something you're gonna overlook. There's always a moment where someone is gonna overlap your work or something. It always happens. There's no way, because like it gets to the point where it's like, so you want to work so fast in order to accomplish what you want that it just happens. Nobody's thinking that much straight anymore. Well,
Right.
they just, and you have to deal with that. It's a normal thing. So the key point here is that you really need to communicate all the time. So keep communication going. If you feel like you're overlapping someone else's work, ask them first. So this is gonna overlap. Did you do this? Do you plan to do this when? If they're like, oh, I was gonna work on this now, so maybe then one shares the screen and work on them together, like a partner programming kind of thing. And it's something that may help, because someone reading the code really can help you avoid some mistakes. It's a way to compromise, just like for a short period of time until that's done, and then you can separate work again. But remember to communicate. Always ask first. Like any question, like you were changing the script you're working on, ask first. Unless you were doing creating that, ask the other person or the other two people first.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yes. Yes.
And so another reason why you want to communicate is because a game jam is supposed to be fun. It's like it is intense, but this is like a fun, like, usually you don't want to leave angry. You want to kind of be excited with your teammates and have fun making a wacky game. You don't want to like it's not supposed to be like a super serious kind of corporate.
Right. Feel like a really like dull job. It's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
Like a hard job.
And if you communicate, and like even if it's like stuff that isn't even related to the game, just like throw in some jokes, keep the morale going. It'll go very well. Yeah.
One thing to counter what Leandro said about snowballing is I find that I will plan out. I will write out like lists of things to do. So like Trello is a great way, like where you could write like who's doing what task at what time, and then you can just update each other and check that. If you guys have already like the core things for your game, it's like, okay, who's doing, like I haven't worked much on the programming side, so for artists it's more like who's doing this asset. Okay, if you're doing this asset, I'm not touching this asset. Or like I guess for coding, I don't know if you guys could do something like that where you could split it in a way where you don't overlap, or that doesn't work.
Yeah, you can split it, but
keep a list, keep track of it.
Yeah, and that's where like the workshop I did yesterday on Git kind of comes in. So you have like your split versions of your code, and then you kind of have to make sure you merge them together in a cohesive way. So if you missed that, like I definitely recommend. I posted it recently.
Watch the video.
Yes.
Watch our video.
So for coders, that's what you have to like be sure to not have like a complete mess.
I like that you mentioned morale, because I think that's so important. Like beyond just having a good idea, I think having a good team dynamic is so important for like the experience of the game jam. I think if you have like a really like a team that's disagreeing and like not finding ideas together, usually that doesn't happen. I haven't seen that much. Like I haven't seen that type of problem arise. But I would think like keep your morale up, like cheer each other up, like encourage each other, be supportive, like always like one thing I went to a game jam and one thing they said was always check up to make sure everyone's okay. Like if you see someone's really really tired and they're exhausted but they keep pushing themselves, tell them it's okay to take a break. Like treat them the way you treat like your friends, because in a way, like hopefully we all become friends after the game jam, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess we could kind of move on. Okay, so once you finish kind of making lists on Trello and such, or talking about the architecture of the game. So at this point, you're gonna start working, obviously, and I would recommend, since this is a 48-hour game jam, either the first night or the second, you should have a good sleep. So, so like depending on what you want, you could choose to do like you could stay awake like the first night and then go to sleep on the second, or you could go to sleep on the first night and then stay awake on the second. Or you could go to sleep on both if you're I mean, there's no I don't blame anyone that does it. It's just that like on the second night, usually everything is like going really last minute and everyone's rushing. So having like people like falling asleep kind of makes the atmosphere a little like lonesome. There's no problem with that, but like I'm just saying in general, at least sleep one night, because there's no way in hell you're gonna be able to stay awake and be sane for 48 hours straight. Yeah. What I do usually, I go to sleep.
And then you crash.
Yeah, I guess so. But usually what I do is on the first night, like after we do like the brainstorming session, trying to find our idea, maybe I'll start working on it a little bit, but I'm gonna take the time to like take a good 7 hour sleep on the first night, and then I'll just completely spend the entire next day working, and if there's last minute things to do, the second night I might not even sleep either, depending on the situation. Right. But yeah, so sleep is important. I wouldn't try staying awake for 48 hours because you're gonna go insane, I think. And so yeah, also on the 16th, we're gonna have a kind of update. We're gonna ask everyone to like we're gonna check in on everyone. We're gonna like ask everyone to give us an update of their game. Just to give you guys some like encouragement and like maybe some ideas, and people can maybe also look at your progress and give you some ideas and recommendations, which would be really helpful at that point.
I find second day, usually it's also like second day night. It's usually when you start really cutting things, because you start to face like, okay, we have like one more day, like 1.5 a day left. Do we have enough time we really want that, but do we have time to do it? And then this is where you do a lot more scoping. A lot more like later game making scoping, where you think about certain features might not be able to.
There's like 2 stages of scoping. So the first one is when you do the brainstorm at the very beginning, and then there's like the mid scoping where you're like, okay guys, we're not going to be able to finish these things, so we're going to have to cut back on those things and still make the game work somehow. But there's always like a second stage of scoping.
And that's okay. Like, even though you really want to, it's okay, it happens. Like, you can always implement it after the game jam, right? It's like it's okay.
I always tell myself I'm gonna like add things after, but I never end up doing it. Yeah.
But the whole point is like, don't drive yourself insane over like scoping, like stretching too far. Like, you wouldn't want to put in a game that's like, oh, it's beautiful but nothing works, right? You would want to a game that makes sense, like, right? Like, it's kind of like you got to cut down on it. It's okay. It happens.
Yeah.
I think the important part here is that in the end, especially for people just starting in the game jam, or even those more experienced, is that in the end, both have fun, of course, but try to finish what you can, even if you have to cut a lot because you didn't have time to make it. At least make it something a tester will be able to start, play, and finish. And even if it's very bland and it's just like this one thing where you just jump up,
right,
and you jump up forever or something, it's still a satisfying experience because there is an end, and you will see. And then a person tests it, you will see that they will enjoy to an extent, and you will see you have a more rewarding experience watching other people play your game, because there is a place to end, instead of like something that's very half done and it doesn't really end well, or crashes if something happens,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
very bad. I mean, like the beginning or something, and or like a half done mechanic that doesn't really work well.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty frustrating because you're looking at that and you're like, oh, I didn't have time to finish this or that. So if it gets to a point like 2 hours before delivery or 3, and you have a lot of things you are still not done, just cut them out and focus on what you did do. Finish that, wrap that.
And make
It's a
them
nice
work.
little
Yeah.
gift, and that's what you need to do. And set that. That's like your version alpha, if you want to consider that,
Right.
and make people play that, because it will be more rewarding for the testers, more rewarding for yourself, and then you can set goals if you want to continue on it later or not. It just happens. But really, it's a lot more rewarding if you finish it. If you make it like a little package of sorts.
Yeah. And something
you find-
playable, at least.
Oh, go ahead. Yes. If you find you have a hard time scoping, let's say you have like things on your list are like, I don't know which one I should go for, like which one should we cut off. A thing they do in the industry, and like a tip, is like separate it into 3 categories. One is like must have, so it's like the bare bones, like you need this or the game does not make sense, does not function. Then you have the ones that are like, oh, and then category 2 is kind of like it's essential, important, but not as important as the must have. So even
Yeah.
if you don't have the important, it's okay, but if you have the important, the game will shine a bit more. And then the last one is the ones that are nice to have. So it's like that feature or that extra little like special effect that is really cool, that would make the game really, really nice. Exactly. Peru, it's flavor. So you're flavoring the dish like at the end, but it's okay. Like the dish will still be edible if you don't have pepper in it. Does it make sense? Like basically, like the last one is like those special effects. If you don't have time to do it, it's okay. You can always do them after. But this is like a tip.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know how to categorize it into 3.
And if you guys use GitHub, you could create like issues, and you could also put the priorities directly on issues, and
Exactly.
and that way, well, first of all, issues are good for like kind of distributing the tasks to each other. Like you could like assign tasks to your teammates, but also you could kind of estimate how much time one task will take as opposed to the other one, and what is its priority as opposed to the other ones. I was wondering, like, would you guys say that fixing bugs is of the biggest priority, or would you say getting the core essence of the game as a priority? You would say getting a solid build is working. So, yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
I'm listening to you guys.
Well, of
Yeah,
course.
there are things like that destroy the game. If you don't have the time to fix it, just cut it. But if you do, there's no reason not to fix it.
Okay.
Especially if it's something more core, like
Yeah.
to the base of the gameplay that you've planned.
Would you guys say that, like, if you find a bug, like, you should stop what you're doing and then and fix the bug right away? Try to fix it right away.
I
and
try
then
to do
move
that
on?
personally,
Okay.
but it's just like on things that I do. Like if it's my code and I know what the code does, I try to fix it because I know it's my code and I know what it does.
I
But if I see bugs on other people's things, then I just communicate them and I allow them to work when they
I would.
want.
I think personally, it's better. And well, what I do is the same thing. I'll like if I see a bug, I'll try to fix it right away, because what's gonna happen eventually is that you might forget about it, especially in 48 hours, and there's
Yeah,
like
you
so
might
many
forget,
things going on. You might completely forget about
It
it.
may snowball as well. The bugs
Yeah.
can snowball pretty hard.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think like when you find a bug, there's no reason not to work on it, or at least communicate and decide with the team if you should work on it at that moment,
Yeah.
or if someone else can take that problem for themselves first, because bugs can snowball pretty hard, and it's pretty problematic. Yeah. That said, if you are in the middle of working onto like a different feature, it's also a decision to make to finish that first. If it's like not really tied, and it's like, oh, so the player is moving funny, or the collision is not working correctly, like in this spot. Well, let me finish just doing this other thing first. You can communicate first. Okay, so there's a bug here. Make a bug list if you want to. There's also like on Trello, you can do that. And then like communicate the others. So I found a bug here, and then if someone wants to take that and fix that, awesome. If not, you can finish what you're doing first, and then you move to that bug.
And especially
if you need to think about like the level of priority, like you guys were saying. Like there are certain bugs and other bugs.
Okay. And in game jams, so like some coders might have like pride and like, you know, you want to fix the bugs yourselves and like be like as productive as you can, and like maybe you don't want to show your like weaknesses to other teammates, but in this context, you really want to, if you need help, ask for help. Like don't be shy whatsoever, because if you wait for asking for help for like a bug or something, it might delay your game all that much just for something that maybe someone else will know the answer very quickly. And so it's just a good way to time save. And I mean, Game Jam is here to learn anyways, so people should be asking each other questions all the time. But I'm just saying, like, if you need help, like really, like you could even ask other people's from other teams for help. But don't be shy.
Yeah. Well, a good technique and it may even help you like find the solution yourself. Because the first thing you're gonna do is explain, and there's a thing called the rubber duck technique, and when you start explaining your code
to someone
or what
else,
it does, like line by line to someone else, you really picture it clearly, and you're like, oh wait, this is wrong, and then you fix it on the spot. It's just normal.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're so immersed in what you did that you really skip those bits.
That happens to me all the time. Like, I'll start explaining the code problem to someone, and I'll be like, "Oh, wait, I know what's wrong." Like, never mind.
Yeah, you'll feel a little dumb and a little sad right after, like, why did I do this? But then it just happens. It's
everyone goes through it. So even if you feel dumb for like a fraction of a second, like I'm sure like everyone has been through the same thing.
I want to emphasize, like, if you're doing game jam in a team, right? So like, it's like, think of it as it's like your team against the other team, not you against your own teammates in a way. So like, there's no shame or like in anything in asking your teammates for help, because you guys are a team and you guys are partaking in the game jam together. So think of it like as it's for the team. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Like my effort and me asking for help is not like any shame to me. It's more like I'm trying to fix this part so our team can get moving.
Yeah, just to move on as quickly as possible.
Right. Think of it from a team point of view. That might help.
Yeah, I mean, the feeling we want to have is that this is a community. So even if, like Rose said, if you want and if you need, and no one in your team knows, ask other people. Ask it on the Discord, like, oh, programming people, I have trouble like this and that.
Exactly.
There's no shame in that. No one is gonna want to steal your game. There's no there's no reason for that.
Like people, there's no reason to steal games. Like,
why would
and especially for maybe for like the first like 3 hours of game idea, maybe you want to be a little bit secretive. But once people are doing their game, like they're not gonna like completely change their idea. Oh, that other team's game is like a lot better. Let's steal it. Like, there's no time for that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it will delete everything you did and then just do a copy. It doesn't even make like there's no reward on that. It's just terrible.
So
and part of the fun in this is to really, like, at least for me, is like at a certain stage really go around and see like, what are you doing? What is the game you're making? Like, my game is like this, your game is like that. This is fun. Like, this is sharing. It's community.
The ideas.
Yeah, it's super good. It feels awesome, and it's super important for everyone involved. Yeah.
And that's like, but one thing I didn't really like, well, I mean, Leandro, you didn't like as well, about
Yeah, yeah.
Global Game Jam was like such like the emphasis on the prizes, I guess. They had them
Oh, okay.
laying on the
Yeah,
table
yeah,
for
they
everyone to see,
really,
and there was like this kind of like weird aggressive competitiveness, and this is
Mm.
not really what we want. For a
yeah,
game jam,
yeah,
most people are gonna get prizes. So just like,
yeah. Ours is a lot more like Game Morella
well,
And
actually,
than
it's
everyone,
Global
more
Game Jam.
everyone's gonna
encouraging.
get prizes no matter
Yes,
what.
everyone wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Everyone
the
wins.
experience is the important part. The thing
Yeah.
with
Is the
Global Game
winning.
Jam is that they use a lot of that the judges and the prizes and more like a hackathon vibe in that sense.
Yeah.
It's not what
Right,
I was
right.
used to back in Brazil when I went to Global Game Jam in Brazil, and I helped organize like, a couple of them as well. It was totally the opposite. I was pretty shocked when I went to this one here because back in Brazil they did these workshops on the week before. They during the weekend they said that's why the biggest prize was voted. It was like most popular game. It wasn't really the best game. It
Mhm.
was just most popular game because
Yeah.
it just happens.
Mhm.
And
Totally
everyone
like
felt so welcome there because then when there was time to eat and there was the pizza, there was this huge line of the volunteers, and everyone was sharing and talking about their games, and then like they wouldn't even encourage people to go around and see what other people's work was. Just like,
Yeah.
oh, if you need to take a breather from your code, from your art, stand up, go talk to the other team, see what they are doing.
And
Right.
It can inspire you, and it
yeah.
inspires them because they're gonna look at their work and say, oh, I love this. And it's
Mhm.
really good. It really feels good. That sense of community is more important than the sense of competition, I think,
And maybe
especially for a game jam.
and maybe you'll like if we talked before, like if you need help
Mhm.
for like a code or something and you ask like the people on this channel for some help, maybe they're going through the same problem and you can like figure it out, or like they
Get
they
her.
went through the problem and they already know the solution, so
Mhm.
they could just like help you out really quick. And I mean, things like that, like this is what we're going for. It's just kind of like
Right.
a nice fun event for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
really just wanted to gather people and do something fun together on a weekend, like especially during this quarantine. We just wanted like something fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And
Just
okay.
one thing I would like to say about the prizes. Don't forget the prize at the Global Game Jam. They were from sponsors. So
Oh.
that also tells you something.
Yeah, but like the fact that they just had them like laying for everyone to see and be like kind of competitive about was kind of
Yeah, it felt more like
weird.
an auction at
Yeah,
this
it
point.
was kind of weird.
An auction.
So whoever
And they had like
gives the highest-
judges and things. It was kind of weird.
Oh yeah, there were judges, plenty of them too. So like, don't forget. I don't know how many teams we have and how many winners they are. Let's say, but probably the ratio is going to be a lot higher here. So if people really care about the win, the chances are higher.
Yeah, point we want to
Yes,
emphasize
yes.
this is not a like there's no winner. It's more of a celebration. So if
Right.
your game happens to be the most popular one, awesome. You know, everyone's gonna be happy about that. That's the point. You know, it's not about like
Yeah,
I made this
You're-
game to win the prize. I made this game
Yeah.
to have fun and for others to have fun. And then everyone decides which one is the most popular game, and
Right.
not like some judges. You know.
Yeah.
It really helps because we want to build this community and this and
Mhm.
this celebration sense more than I want to make the best game here. You know, you can have that for yourself, of course. You know that your goals are your goals, but don't do that like aggressively to the others. If someone comes to see your game or is curious what you're doing, be nice to them, explain to them. It helps you, it helps them.
Yeah.
It's important. Yeah, on Global Game Jam, it really felt like there was one time I went around and look at the other people's work, and everyone kind of just looks at you very like angry, like what you're looking at, you know.
You're trying to
I'm like,
steal my idea. Like, no.
yeah, not even that. Just like it's like don't approach, you know, don't approach me. I'm working this, and I'm like,
Mm.
okay. Except for people already knew. People already knew we're nice, which was
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, but the others, you know. Because I thought it was a good back in Brazil. It was a good opportunity to meet new people as well in the community.
Exactly.
And I met a lot, and I made a lot of cool friends back in there. So I was pretty shocked. It was pretty shocking. So when we decided to make this one, I was like, oh, let's make it closer to celebration and like everyone
yeah.
having their experience rewarded to them instead of having just like a couple of winners in the end. And that really like it really really like throws a Delm in the rest, like how ice water, you know.
Right.
Yeah. I guess we could like what else should we talk about? Like maybe like the last like
The
hours.
Exactly.
Huh?
I was gonna say
Yeah.
the final hour.
Yeah.
Depends on You know, we can talk about that a little bit.
So obviously, ultimately, yeah, the final countdown. Ultimately, at this point, maybe like 2-3 hours before. So our game jam finishes at 6, I believe.
Yes.
So yeah, 2-3 hours before the deadline, all you want to do is test, and fix bugs, and that should be like your only priority.
Right.
And at this point, you don't want to add new things. Like you don't want to add
do
new
not
features
add new assets or stuff.
unless there's empty, like desperate need for assets. But if it's just like small details, it's not priority. Yeah, test, panic, fix, panic some more, rinse and repeat, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. And and we're gonna have an itch.io page where everyone will submit your games before 6 p.m. And we're gonna have so we're gonna ask everyone to play each other's games, and you could write comments and vote. Vote for your favorite game. But we want everyone to play test each other's games so that we have like an accurate kind of representation of the most popular game, maybe like which games have. We want you guys to comment on if you like the art, or maybe the music, or maybe the adaptation of the theme that we're gonna announce. Because maybe it's a story-based game, and maybe a more story-based game will have a better representation of the theme. We really highly encourage everyone to play each other's games and to comment on each other's
give
successes.
feedback. That's super.
Yeah, feedback is
super good and important. Yeah.
Also to ask questions, because often I find I will go playtest people's games and I'll be like, how did you do this? And then people usually, because it's like you all submitted, right? So now then they'll be really open to tell you, oh, I use this engine, or I use this program, or I use this, and that's where you learn more about how to make, you become better at making games, because they'll share their secrets with you after the game jam.
And sometimes there'll be things that completely surprise you. Like maybe
Exactly.
someone will do a story with what is it called again? The story Twine. Maybe someone will do a really impressive Twine that looks like maybe you'll be surprised that someone did it on such a simple program, because it will be executed so professionally, and it'll inspire you maybe to use it one day yourself. Twine. Well,
yes.
there's other game making tools out there, but that's the only one I could think of right now. Yeah. Because I did a game once, and we did a playtest at the end, and then I was walking around playing other people's games, and I remember playing someone else's game, and it was an engine that I never ever used before, and it looks really good. And I was completely surprised, because I think this person was a beginner as well, and his game ended up better than mine. I was like, oh my god, how did you do that? Unfortunately, I forgot what engine he used, but I was impressed.
Right. It's a great moment to share your resources and stuff too at the end.
Yeah.
When you're playtesting people's game, it's a good time to ask them too.
Yeah.
The entire schedule. for a game jam overall. Does anyone have any questions?
Or comments.
Specific game?
Yeah.
Right. Anything specifically they want to ask or share?
See someone typing.
Oh, wait for them.
Oh, when is the date? It's the
That's
15th.
this weekend.
It's this weekend.
Yeah, this Friday starts.
It starts Friday at 6 and it finishes Sunday at 6.
Yes.
I'll repost the schedule then. I'll double
No,
check.
it's in the announcements. I know. Well, not the announcements.
the
It has the
workshop.
workshops. Yeah, the schedule's not here.
I'll upload it after this call. I'll go after.
Oh, it's in the. I don't know. It's nowhere. Okay.
Just to clarify, are there people still looking for teams?
What? Excuse me?
Are there still people looking for teams here?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah, there's a team making channel.
including us.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody's looking for
Well, yeah. We'll see how we proceed with that, I guess.
We should probably
'Cause
talk
there's a team
about
making chat. There's a team making chat, and we'll probably use that. Yeah.
I see.
We're
Okay.
hoping that at least on Friday people will make their teams.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
maybe people like right now
Oh,
are
yeah, of course.
busy or kind of lazy or whatnot, but I mean, definitely on Friday people should be like, okay, now I'm gonna be social and try to find people.
Yeah, there are people that really make the teams on the spot. I like that as well. And I really did it on the day. It's like, what's left? So let's just make a team and let's go. It's fun because then you normally go with people you don't know.
Mhm.
Right.
Although in this case, it's probably very hard because I probably know most of the people here.
Right.
But in case,
Maybe we could do a executive team. So you
I was
guys
thinking.
guys
I was
have
thinking
that.
to beat
More
us.
fair.
That might,
Yeah.
exactly. That might be better. You're right about that. I was gonna
Yeah.
comment that.
What do you guys think of that?
That'd be
Or
us
else
against you guys.
I'm down. I'm down.
I'm
You
down.
guys
We'll do
will
the
get-
exec team.
that will be the competition. Is you guys have to beat us.
No, but really, like, even if you guys have questions that reach out, we'll answer you. That's what
Yeah.
we're here for.
Another idea maybe is like max one exec per team or something. But like
That's the other thing. Either
Yeah.
we spread ourselves or we combine ourselves. We cannot be like, what is it called? Percentage, like, distribution has to be equivalent, basically.
yeah.
Yeah, it has to be like.
One thing I like to
Mhm.
remind everybody: if you're gonna pull an all-nighter during the last day, do not drink alcohol.
Yeah,
yeah.
advice against alcohol in the game jam in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Focus on the work. You can drink.
Coffee is
after-
okay if you need it.
Yeah, you can drink on Sunday
Remember-
after you submit. When you're playing the other people's games, you can do whatever you want. But
Yes.
Yeah, you-
work sane.
You could drink after when everything is over.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. You can celebrate after. Put things that make you happy around you. Keep your morale in a good mood. No?
Oh, and since
Stop
we're
saying.
gonna be confined in our homes, definitely take every hour or so at least like a stretch. Take like
Right.
Oh yeah.
you
dude.
know just go
Yeah,
out, maybe get
let
some
it
fresh
stretch.
air.
Go outside as well. Like,
Yeah,
go take a
Yes.
walk.
definitely take a walk,
Yes.
and no one's gonna like be angry at you if you just tell them, oh, I need to like take maybe an hour walk or something.
Okay,
Just-
that's reasonable. It's okay.
We also want
Yeah.
we also want you guys to be healthy, not completely.
we want you to be happy. And that's why on the poster I put like fruits for snacks and like energy boosters. I was gonna put like coffee and I was like, I think I put coffee too, but I was trying to put like not chips or pizza. I was trying to put like fruits. Like eat some fruits.
Yeah. That was another thing that sucked for the Global Game Jam is that like we couldn't find any fresh food anywhere.
Most of them
Really?
was snacks, with mostly like
Uh,
Nutellas and fruits.
oh my
lying around.
god, it was horrible. So yeah,
Plus,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry.
maybe even go for like a grocery shopping before, get some like healthy snacks.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good idea actually.
Yeah.
Great tip.
Don't rely on the snacks like fruits and Nutellas and all that.
Yeah,
They really
yeah.
don't help at all.
Mhm.
Yeah, get some.
Start by eating 3 times a day. It really helps when you have a good breakfast.
Yeah, it's
good
hard because
dinner.
if you break your routine
Right.
too badly, your body's really gonna like tilt.
Yeah.
What the
The
fuck are you
repercussions
doing?
are bad.
Yeah.
The repercussions are not. Yeah.
So make sure
Also,
you
if you
maintain your rhythm and stuff.
if you have a pet, you keep it around you. That can help.
Yeah.
But make sure it doesn't step on the keyboard.
I feel bad that my pet's far away.
Aw. I have a rat.
Keep
Have a
pictures
picture.
of your pet.
Go
Sorry.
FaceTime with it.
Keep pictures of your pet.
The only pet I have is a pet rat.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, but I can't like cuddle it, unfortunately.
Plus, at the same time, since you guys are gonna like most of us are gonna be on the computer all day, talking and coding, and
Right.
designing. Make sure you also, if you live with your family or friends, spend time with them as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Don't
Right.
make
Even
them
during
think that
dinner
you're
time,
dead in
we'll
your
talk with them.
bedroom.
don't eat in the computer. Let's say.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, try not to be distracted too much. This is
Mhm.
so I know like Pyroman here. I know you get distracted by video games. So I'm telling you this specifically for you.
personal
Yeah,
attacks.
personal
Ooh.
attack.
Ooh.
Flying people.
So I was saying like, okay, maybe you could take a break, like an hour break or something. You could play your game for an hour, but don't do it every 30 minutes or something. it's easy
My
to
code
get
is not
distracted.
compiling. Fuck, I'm gonna play some games. I'll come back
Because
later.
people, if people know that you're playing games as opposed to like helping the team, maybe that will lower the morale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no problem in like maybe taking a rest and like playing a game for like 30 or an hour or something. If that
Yeah.
if that's what you prefer, but definitely don't do it too much.
Right. And check in on each other, like
Yeah.
I said.
Mhm.
Make sure everyone's feeling good. Everyone's like not too stressed, not too nervous, not too relaxed either. Yeah, make sure everyone's on the same page too.
Yeah.
Just one question: how are you guys judging the games? Like, is there like a criteria or something, or just play it and?
We'll have it's gonna be public votes, so everyone is gonna pitch in, and there are a couple categories, but they are like they're pretty abstract, so you'll be able to vote for the one. They're pretty straightforward, so you'll be able to vote. It's pretty clear, like you'll find out the one you need to vote for, and then everyone is gonna vote. So it's not us, it's everyone. Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
you'll play the games, comment if you want to give some feedback, and then vote. Like I think each base is based on a grade system, so you give like from 1 to 5 stars based on the criteria we put there. So
Mhm.
you have the game, and then you have like all the criteria we decided, and then you give us that many stars to each criteria, and then we'll do the pricing
Yeah.
based on those things.
All we do
Mhm.
basically,
Exactly.
it's your responsibility to vote, and us it's just to gather the data and.
Yeah, we just compile it.
Yeah, that's all we do.
Yes.
Alright, sounds democratic enough.
Yeah, just so like it both it motivates everyone to play everyone's games, at least to a certain
Mhm.
extent, and also like help you get some feedback for your game, and then also you can see you will really develop some like observational skills
Mhm.
comparing both your game to and the other games, like what they propose, what they don't propose. Oh, so this game embrace the thing better than mine. Why was that? You can have those reflections based on what you see by the votes, by what you play. But mainly is to really motivate everyone to play each other's games, because I think that's pretty essential.
Yeah, it kind of sucks if you spend 48 hours making a game and no one plays it.
Yeah,
Right.
or just like 2 people play it, and then like they
There's
play
no feedback.
other
Yeah.
10 games and they just choose one. it's pretty like it's nice if everyone play each other's games, and I also did a game, so like I like it's good to see how other people do things, basically.
Right, right. It's
Yeah.
a great way to learn. It's really
Yeah.
a great way to learn.
And just so you remember, also when you make a game, what makes the game people vote is also the appeal.
Mhm.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, if it's a game, even though it might not be, of course, looks make a role in a way. Like even if the art style is not
Right.
too perfect, if it looks good, even with just the primitive shapes,
Yeah.
you can still get a lot of points for that.
Yeah,
Or
exactly. Yeah.
if a
Right,
game
right.
reminds you of something, let's say, oh, it reminds me from this mechanic from this game. That's pretty creative.
Yeah.
Like, familiarity as well is also a key role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, those are great points.
Yes. So, are we? Do you think we're done our discussion?
I
Yeah.
think
Any other
we went
questions?
over everything. Yeah. Do you
If
guys
someone
have
has
more
any other
questions?
questions, I think we should be done. Yeah.
We covered like the entire.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Awesome.
we're good. Okay.
Well, thank you guys for joining us on this.
Yes.
I like these discussions. Like they're
Mhm.
pretty
Yeah,
fun.
it's a lot of fun.
Me
Yeah.
too. It's fun to talk
Yeah.
about them.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming, people. Even
Thank
those
you
that
for
just
joining
listen
us.
and typed in the chat, or Peru or Mimi Man here.
Mimi man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll be sure to book you next time. Yes. Okay.
But yes,
Yes.
thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
It gives us like we're really happy to share these
Yeah.
discussions with you.
It was awesome.
No,
I hope
thank
you
you for
guys
the
enjoyed.
workshop.
If you have any other questions later, you can ask any of us.
Yes,
Uh,
we're gonna be having a art slash discussion, more art focus at 7 p.m. Like
Yes.
a workshop discussion. around
Yeah.
that. Yes. So if you
Yes.
guys want, you can come back in an hour.
Yes. Okay. So thank you guys so
Alright.
much. Hope to see you guys later.
Have
Yeah.
a nice dinner.
Yes. Nice
Yes, have a
rest of your
good-
day.
Yes.
All right. Bye
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye bye.